Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Sarabhyai Namaha Om Sarabhyai Namaha Om Sarabhyai Namaha Mukam karoti vachanam pangam langayate girim Yad kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yad kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Reading from Canto number 4, chapter 20, entitled Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena. And yesterday we read 15. So today we're doing 16. Hare Krishna. Takes 1/6. Varam cha mat kanchana manavendra vrinishvate te aham guna shila yantritaha naham makair vai sulabhas tapodbhir yogena va yat sama chitta varti param chamat kanchana manavendra Vishnishvateham gunashilayantritaha Naham makair vai sulabhastapobhir Yogena vayat samachittavarti Varam chamat kanchana manavendra Vrinishvateham gunashilayantritaha Naham makhair vai sulabhastapobhir Yogena vayat samachittavarti Varam chamat kanchana manavendra Vinishvateham gunashilayantritaha Naham makair vai sulabhastapobhir Yogena vayat samachittavarti Varam chamat kanchana manavendra Vinishvateham gunashilayantritaha Naham makair vai sulabhastapobhir Yogena vayat samachittavarti Varam chamatkanchana manavendra. Vinishvateham gunashila-yantritaha. Naham makarvai sulabhastapobhir. Yogena vayat samachittavarti. Varam chamatkanchana manavendra. Vinishvateham gunashila-yantritaha. Naham makarvai sulabhastapobhir. Yogena vayat samachittavarti. Varam, benediction. Cha, also. Mat, from me. Kanchana, whatever you like. Manava Indra, O chief of human beings. Vrinishva, please request. Te, your. Aham, I. Gunashila, by elevated qualities and excellent behavior. Yantritaha, being captivated. Na, not. Aham, I. Makai, by sacrifices. Vai, certainly. Sulabha, easily obtained. Tapobhihi, by austerities. Yogena, by practice of mystic yoga. Va, or yat, because of which Samachitta, in one who is equiposed. Varti, being situated. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. My dear King, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined towards you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equiposed in the heart of one who is always equiposed in all circumstances. Kindly repeat after me. My dear King, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior. And thus I am very favorably inclined toward you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equiposed in the heart of one who is also equiposed
who is also equiposed
in all circumstances.
in all circumstances.
Purport. Lord Vishnu was very pleased with Maharaj Prithu's good character and behavior and offered him a benediction. The Lord openly says that performing great sacrifices and or undergoing the austerities of mystic yoga practice cannot satisfy him. He is pleased only by elevated character and behavior. But these cannot develop unless one becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. Anyone who has developed unalloyed, unflinching devotional service unto the Lord develops his original good qualities as spirit soul. The spirit soul, as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has all the good qualities of the Lord. When the spirit soul is contaminated by the material modes of nature, one is considered good or bad with reference to the material qualities. But when one is transcendental to all material qualities, all the good qualities come out. These qualities of a devotee, 26 in number, are listed as follows. 1. Kind to everyone. 2. Does not quarrel with anyone. 3. Fixed in the absolute truth. 4. Equal to everyone. 5. Faultless. 6. Charitable. 7. Mild. 8. Clean. 9. Simple. 10. Benevolent. 11. Peaceful. 12. Completely attached to Krishna. 13. Has no material hankering. 14. Meek. 15. Steady. 16. Self-controlled. 17. Does not eat more than required. 18. Sane. 19. Respectful. 20. Humble. 21. Grave. 22. Compassionate. 23. Friendly. 24. Poetic. 25. Expert. And 26. Silent. The Lord is satisfied by development of the transcendental qualities of the living entity, and not by artificial performance of sacrifices and mystic yoga. In other words, unless one is fully qualified to become a pure devotee of the Lord, one cannot expect to be liberated from material entanglement. Translation again. My dear King, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined toward you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equiposed in the heart of one who is also equiposed in all circumstances. So somehow this verse happens to come on a very appropriate day. The 26 qualities of a devotee. That's why in the Vedic culture, the primary aspect of education, and Prabhupada often would remind us of this, first is character. Character formation is the basis of Vedic culture. That is the actual test. And of course, character formation has to do with the development, the manifestation of the original natural qualities of the spirit soul. And here this is nicely being explained, that the Lord actually becomes attracted. He becomes attracted to those living entities who are manifesting, who are developing these natural qualities. And he becomes inclined to actually reciprocate with such living entities. We see an example of all pure devotees. Srila Prabhupada exemplified this in a very unique manner. And because Srila Prabhupada displayed all of these qualities, which are very often remembered by those who had very close and intimate association with Srila Prabhupada, this is what especially attracted them to Krishna consciousness. Krishna is described as being all attractive. Krishna is all attractive because he displays in his dealings with his devotees all of these wonderful qualities. Just hearing about them is very attractive. And the only reason why they are not manifest or developed within us is due to these different impediments, these different coverings, the influence of the modes of material nature. Here it is clearly mentioned. Unless one becomes a pure devotee, one cannot display these qualities. And the message which comes across very clearly, of course, is that Krishna is not so much attracted by ritualistic performances, by performance of yajna or tapasya or sacrifices. He's actually attracted to the transformation that is taking place within the heart. And that transformation can only take place when one learns to surrender. As one surrenders to the Lord, then, because that's our constitutional nature, we are rebellious. Yeah, everyone in the material world is a rebel. But in the spiritual world, on the spiritual level, everyone is very happy and very much desiring of simply being a humble servant of the Lord. So these qualities were again very nicely displayed by Srila Prabhupada. I was just hearing one devotee, a simple devotee, I forget his name. So many devotees had different exchanges with Srila Prabhupada. There was one devotee, devotees were understanding that, the appearance and the activities of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada was something very rare, and devotees understood that actually Prabhupada is already very elderly. He will not be with us for a long time, and what can I do to attract his attention? So, very, very few devotees actually had that great fortune of being very, very close to Prabhupada. This was only possible especially in the early days, and as the years went on, it became more and more difficult to get close. Even there were, instructions by those who were serving Srila Prabhupada that devotees should, at one point anyone could write to Prabhupada, but then at one point devotees were told don't write to Prabhupada because he's getting too much mail and like that. Distracting for his... still, of course, some devotees would write. So this one devotee, he was thinking, Prabhupada doesn't know me. How can I get the favor or the attention of Srila Prabhupada? So this simple devotee, and already so many, we could say, big devotees were there. That was the case for most of us who came a little later in Krishna consciousness. Practically speaking, anytime. Prabhupada went to America in 1965. So, by 1970, it's already 5 years, right? So many things are taking place, so many temples are open. So, after 1970, it became increasingly difficult year after year to really get very close to Srila Prabhupada. Of course, there were exceptions. So this one devotee, it was his birthday, and his parents sent him a very nice sweater, And he was in New Vrindavan. And in those days, New Vrindavan, the early 70s, I went to New Vrindavan in 1974, and it was still rough at that time. New Vrindavan was started in 1968, and 6 years later, right? 74 when I first went to New Vrindavan, it was still in the pioneering days. So this was like maybe 70, 71, or 72. This devotee was recollecting this particular pastime. So he thought, I'm in New Vrindavan. My parents sent me this wonderful, sweater, and everything gets dirty in New Vrindavan. It was like impossible to keep anything clean because, they didn't have roads. Everything was muddy, and so he thought, I should give this to Prabhupada. I should offer this to Srila Prabhupada. So he said, he thought that was a very good idea, but then he thought, how am I going to give this to Prabhupada? You just can't walk up. And so it was very difficult even to get darshan. So anyways, Prabhupada was maybe about to leave within 1 or 2 days, so he thought, this is like, there was a darshan. Prabhupada would have darshan in the afternoon. So he just mustered enough courage to, during this one particular darshan, he just, decided, this is my last chance, I have to do it. So he just walked into the darshan. Everyone turned around because, it's not that everybody all the time could just have that privilege. So anyways, immediately as he walked in, he just had this box. He had put his nice sweater in this box, and he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I have a nice sweater that my mother made for me, and I want to give it to you. Just out of the blues like that. And then, he was very shy. I mean, everyone was shy in front of Srila Prabhupada. I mean, no one, even to speak to Prabhupada was like, practically speaking, unimaginable for most, ordinary new devotees. So he blurted that out, and then obviously got everyone's attention by walking in and by speaking this way. He interrupted whatever was going on. Then Prabhupada responded by saying, "Oh, your mother made this for you. She made for you, so you should keep it." So he was devastated, I mean, the only little service I can do for my spiritual master, and he's refusing my service. So he broke down, he started crying. And he said, no, I really want you to have my sweater, the sweater my mother made. And then Prabhupada is one of the qualities here. He could see that he was, a simple devotee who had this strong desire to do this particular service. And as that devotee was relating it, we can just see. Then Prabhupada said, okay, we'll exchange. Prabhupada took off his own, he started to unbutton his sweater. He took off his sweater right there, took it off. He gave it to this devotee, and he took his sweater. So many similar kind of examples where Prabhupada was very, very sensitive to individuals and always wanting to reciprocate I was reading another anecdote. This was the first time I heard this, because there's so many pastimes that devotees are relating. And of course, this was also in the early days. In the early days, Srila Prabhupada, whenever he saw that there was even a little bit of interest or inclination to chant the holy name, to become devotee, Prabhupada would, as the expression goes, spark the fan, or fan the spark, sorry. fan. Whenever there's a small indication, he would fan the spark. So there was one this one Mataji was mentioning that actually I came to Krishna consciousness in a very unusual way. Actually, many. We all come in unusual ways, but some more so than others, So this one, this Mataji was, she just passed away recently, actually. You might have seen the news or the video on this. I never came in contact with this Mataji. She was relating how her mother was very pious, and her mother had like 10 children. They were from Afro-American background, black-bodied devotees, or family, very pious, and one of the children one day got a Back to Godhead magazine. This was like in the early days, because there were practically no other books being distributed. And he hesitated to give it to his mother, because his mother was always interested in other religions. And he thought that if I give this to him, she'll take to it, So he waited quite some months, and then after he gave, somehow, either she found it in the house or whatever, and then she became extremely attracted. And whatever she would, she was one of those mothers, whatever she would say, everyone in the family would have to do. So she read this Prabhupada's Back to Godhead magazine, and then she said, we all have to become devotees. But this was in the early days. There weren't many temples, and They had tried to associate with some temples, but they were I don't know, in the early days there were all kinds of irregular things going on. So somehow they decided they had to. Some situation was created that they had to leave their place and they had to travel somewhere. They didn't know where to go, and anyways, they ended traveling. Maybe it was I forget actually which place it was, but they ended up at this one particular place where there was a temple. They inquired there was a temple, and they had tried to associate. They were like overly enthusiastic. They were considered to be overly enthusiastic, and therefore some of the temple presidents knew about this particular family, this particular mother especially, So anyways, they came to know there's a temple, so they went to that temple, and then the temple president who knew about this family was somewhat hesitant to, because they said, we want to become devotees. And he said, actually, you can't come now because, Prabhupada's coming tomorrow. I mean, they traveled, they had no plan to come to that place. Krishna arranged for them to come to this temple. And Prabhupada was coming there the next day. So they were all excited, and when Prabhupada came, they also came there. And then also they came to know that Prabhupada was going to give initiations. Hey, I want to get initiated. So, somehow this Prabhupada had never met them, right? So some devotees explained, well, this family, they've been going to different temples, and they're really a little bit, maybe overly, maybe sentimental or something. So then Prabhupada wanted to meet with the mother. He met with her. She explained her situation, and then Prabhupada told me, you should get initiated. I mean, one day. And then she said, well, I have 10 children. So those who were a little older, they all got initiated. They all got initiated the next day. And of course, eventually, every single member of the family as well became initiated. So, in other words, a personality like Srila Prabhupada, on so many, well, all the time actually, whenever one would interact with Srila Prabhupada, he would invariably display all of these different qualities, and therefore different devotees, they cherish this kind of exchange and memory they had in their personal dealings with Srila Prabhupada. And we all know how it is, so much more pleasant to deal with someone who develops or who has these different qualities. And we generally avoid people who are having the opposite qualities, which is natural. So it means that actually, if we want to attract the mercy of Krishna, then we have to take up the process that is recommended, and here Ritu Maharaj is most fortunate because, the Lord did something that is most unusual. He appeared right there in the sacrificial arena, not so much because he was performing or trying to perform the 100th yajna, but because he was, upon being advised to not perform that 100th yajna, he had no difficulty because he was pure-hearted. So Krishna becomes attracted to those who are actually sincerely practicing the process of Krishna consciousness, and he becomes, just like here, Krishna is mentioning, you ask for any benediction, whatever you want. And of course, we all know that sometimes devotees, they reciprocate by telling the Lord, why you are tempting me in this way? I don't want anything but to be engaged in your devotional service. So somehow Krishna, we didn't plan it, but this particular verse in the purport, Srila Prabhupada has listed all of these wonderful qualities, and it is very appropriate to hear about those qualities. We'll speak later on when we have our program that begins at 11 o'clock. Yeah. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Sri Prabhupada ki Gaura Pimanandi.
Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj.